I'm sitting at the dinner table, fork frozen halfway to my mouth, when Dad drops the question. So, how exactly are you paying rent these days? His tone is light, almost joking, but there's something sharp underneath. Mom glances up from her salad, eyebrows raised like she's genuinely curious. I set my fork down slowly, my heart doing a weird flip. They're smiling, waiting for me to admit I'm drowning. Dad leans back in his chair, arms crossed. You wouldn't survive without us, he says, that familiar smirk pulling at his lips. The words hang in the air like smoke. I force myself to smile back, taking a slow sip of water. They have no idea. Not a single clue. For months I've been handling everything on my own. Rent, bills, groceries, even that surprise car repair last week. But sitting here watching them wait for me to crack, I realize something. They never actually expected me to make it. They were waiting for me to fail. The words keep echoing in my head long after dinner ends. Too young. Too naive. You don't understand how the real world works. I've heard these phrases 1,000 times growing up. Every time I wanted to try something new, every time I suggested handling my own finances, they shut me down with that same concerned look. I remember being 19, asking if I could manage my own bank account. Mom laughed, actually laughed, and said I'd spend everything in a week. Dad nodded, adding that I needed a few more years of maturity. I'm 23 now, and apparently nothing's changed in their eyes. As Mom pours herself another glass of wine, I watch her hand tremble slightly. She's nervous. Maybe part of her suspects I'm doing better than they think. The thought makes my chest tight. I want to scream the truth at them, but I don't. Not yet. What they don't know could fill a book. The late nights I spent learning to budget using free apps and YouTube videos. The side hustles I juggled while they thought I was just hanging out with friends. The meals I skipped so I could save an extra $20. The anxiety attacks I had alone in my apartment, staring at bills spread across my bed, teaching myself to prioritize and plan. I remember one particular night in February, crying over a spreadsheet at 2 in the morning because I couldn't figure out how to stretch my grocery budget. But I did figure it out. I always figured it out. While they slept soundly, convinced I was one missed payment away from disaster, I was building something. Not just financial stability, actual pride. The kind that comes from knowing you did it yourself. Mom's voice cuts through my thoughts. You must be lucky, she says lightly, gesturing at my outfit. That's a nice jacket. Lucky. That word tastes bitter. Back in my apartment that night, I look around with fresh eyes. The bills stacked neatly in a folder, all marked paid. The fridge stocked with groceries I bought myself. The small emergency fund growing slowly in my savings account. My couch secondhand but mine. My laptop purchased with 3 months of freelance earnings. Every single item here represents a choice, a sacrifice, a small victory they know nothing about. I remember the day I moved in here. Dad stood in the doorway, hands in his pockets, and said, "Give it 3 months." That was 8 months ago. I run my fingers along the kitchen counter, smooth and cool. Their laughter from dinner feels absurd now, like watching someone mock a marathon runner for being tired. They don't know the race I've been running. And suddenly, standing here in my quiet apartment, I make a decision. I won't explain. I won't justify. I'll let them figure it out themselves, piece by piece. The next Sunday they invite me over again. Dad's grilling in the backyard, and the smell of charcoal fills the air. Mom's setting the table with her fancy plates, the ones she only uses for real family dinners. I'm helping her when Dad calls over his shoulder. "So, next month, you gonna tell us your secret? How you're surviving?" He says it like it's a punchline. Mom giggles, adjusting a fork. Something hot and sharp twists in my stomach. I turn slowly, meeting Dad's eyes across the patio. "Maybe," I say quietly, a small smile playing at my lips. "Or maybe you'll figure it out." The words surprise me as much as them. Dad's smile falters just slightly. Mom stops mid-motion with the plates. There's a beat of silence, awkward and heavy. Then Dad chuckles, trying to recover. Oh, listen to her. All mysterious now. But I see it, the tiny crack in his confidence. He's wondering if I actually do have something up my sleeve. But let him wonder. What they don't see are the late nights, the hustle, the constant juggling. I think back to how it all started. 3 freelance gigs I found on random websites, writing product descriptions for $15 each. Felt like nothing at first. But 15 became 30, then 50. I learned graphic design through free tutorials. Started offering logo work to small businesses. Every payment felt like winning a small lottery. I remember the first time I made $200 in a single week. I sat on my apartment floor and cried, not from stress this time but from relief. My phone buzzes on the kitchen counter, pulling me back to the present. It's an email notification. I unlock the screen and my heart skips. It's from a client I pitched to last week, a marketing agency looking for a content writer. The subject line reads, "Proposal accepted, long-term contract offer." My hands shake as I open it. $3,000 a month. Guaranteed work for 6 months. I have to read it twice to believe it's real. That extra income changes everything. 2 weeks later, my car makes a horrible grinding noise on the highway. My stomach drops. I pull into a mechanic shop expecting bad news. The guy wipes his hands on a rag and gives me the damage. $800. 800. Old me would have panicked, called my parents, endured the lecture about being more responsible. But I just nod. "Can you have it ready by Thursday?" He looks surprised. "Yeah, sure. You want to, think about it?" "That's a lot of—" "I'll pay half now," I interrupt, pulling out my card. His eyebrows rise, but he takes it. When I pick up the car 3 days later, I run my hand along the hood. This is mine. I fixed this myself with money I earn myself. I'm not struggling. I'm not barely surviving. I'm actually doing it. I'm thriving. And they have no idea. Mom sees the car when I pull up for dinner that Sunday. She's watering the front garden, and she stops mid-spray. "Is that new?" "Not new," I say casually, stepping out and locking the door. "Just got it fixed." Mom sets down the hose, walking closer to inspect it like it's some kind of puzzle. "Fixed. That must have cost." She trails off, waiting for me to fill in the blank. To admit I needed help. To confess I called Dad or borrowed money from someone. I don't. "Yeah, it did," I say simply, shouldering my bag. "But it's all sorted now." I walk past her toward the front door, leaving her standing there in the driveway. Inside, Dad's reading the newspaper in his recliner. He glances up when I enter. "Your mother says you got car work done." I nod, settling onto the couch. "Yep." "Expensive?" he probes. "Yep," I repeat, pulling out my phone to check messages. The silence stretches. I can feel their confusion like a physical presence in the room. They want to ask who helped me. They want to know where the money came from. But I just smile, scrolling through my emails, and say nothing. Over the next few weeks, I start handling things they assumed I'd never manage. That old credit card debt from college. Paid off. The late fees I supposedly, definitely had. Cleared with interest included. I even started contributing to a retirement fund. Something Dad always said I was too young to understand. I don't announce any of this. But little things slip through. Mom calls one Tuesday afternoon, asking if I need help with that bill situation she heard me mention months ago. "Oh, that," I say, stirring pasta on the stove. "I took care of it in March." Silence. "March. But that was 3 months ago, yeah." I finish, tasting the sauce. "It's all good now, Mom." She stumbles through the rest of the conversation, distracted. I can practically hear the gears turning in her head. When Dad stops by my apartment the following week to drop off some mail, he glances around like he's seeing it for the first time. His eyes catch on the new bookshelf, the framed art on the walls. "You've been redecorating," he says slowly. "Just making it feel like home," I reply. His jaw tightens. He's starting to realize something doesn't add up. Sunday dinner becomes a stage for subtle comparisons. Mom brings up my cousin Leo, who just moved back in with his parents after losing his job. It's so hard for young people these days, she sighs, passing the potatoes. Leo's struggling to keep up with rent. We're helping him out until he finds something stable. Dad nods sympathetically. That's what family does. We support each other. They both glance at me, waiting for me to agree, to relate, to admit I'm in the same boat. Instead, I take a sip of water and say, I'm glad Leo has that support. It's tough out there. Mom leans forward. And you? Are you managing okay? We haven't heard you mention any difficulties. Her voice is careful, probing. I meet her eyes steadily. I'm doing fine. Better than fine, actually. Dad shifts in his seat. Really? 'Cause we know how expensive things are. Rent alone must be. I've got it covered, I interrupt gently but firmly. The room goes quiet. I can see the questions forming on their faces. How? Who's helping you? What aren't you telling us? The question finally comes a week later. Mom calls me while I'm editing an article for the marketing agency. Her voice is higher than usual, tight with forced casualness. Honey, I've been thinking. Are you really managing everything on your own? 'Cause it's okay if you need help. We're not judging. I pause my typing, leaning back in my chair. This is the moment. I could tell her everything, the freelancing, the budgeting, the sacrifices. But something stops me. Yes, Mom, I say clearly. I'm managing entirely on my own. The silence on her end is deafening. I hear her breathing, processing. But how? I mean, we just worry that. I know you worry, I cut in softly. But I'm actually doing really well. You don't need to worry anymore. When we hang up, I stare at my laptop screen. Their shock is palpable, even through the phone. They can't hide it anymore. The daughter they underestimated, the girl they thought would crumble without them, is standing on her own 2 feet. And they're only just beginning to see it. Things shift after that call. I start setting boundaries I should have established years ago. When Dad offers unsolicited advice about saving for emergencies, I smile and say, I've got an emergency fund already, but thanks. When Mom tries to give me money just in case, I politely decline. I appreciate it, but I'm okay. First they look hurt, then confused, then, and this is the part that surprises me, frustrated. You're being stubborn, Dad says one evening, his voice sharp. We're sitting in their living room and the tension is thick. I'm being independent, I correct gently. There's a difference. Mom's lips press into a thin line. We're just trying to help. I know, I say, meeting her eyes. But I don't need help framed as doubt. If you want to support me, trust me. The words land heavy. Dad opens his mouth, closes it, then stands abruptly and leaves the room. Mom fidgets with her necklace, looking anywhere but at me. I've never talked to them like this before. Never asserted myself so clearly. Feels terrifying and liberating at the same time. Later that week, I meet my best friend Zoe for coffee. She's the only person who knows the full story. Every struggle, every late-night panic, every small victory. I tell her about the dinner conversations, the boundaries, the shock on my parents' faces. Zoe stirs her latte, grinning. They really had no idea. None, I confirm, shaking my head. They genuinely thought I was barely scraping by. That's insane, she says, leaning back. You've been killing it for months. You're literally outpacing their expectations by miles. And they're just now noticing. Her words settle over me like a warm blanket. She's right. I haven't just survived. I've exceeded every low expectation they ever had. Zoe taps her cup thoughtfully. You know what you should do. Show them. Not in a mean way, but just let them see the full picture. They need a reality check. I consider this. Watching steam rise from my cappuccino. Plan starts forming in my mind. Not revenge exactly. Just a lesson. A gentle wake-up call. I think I know exactly how to do that, I say slowly. 2 weeks later, I organize a small family gathering at my apartment. Nothing fancy. Just dinner with my parents and my younger sister, Claire. I cook everything myself, set the table with care, even light candles. When they arrive, Mom glances around with that same surprised look from before. "This is lovely, honey," she says, but there's a question in her voice. During dinner I casually drop it. "So, I wanted to thank you guys for always encouraging me to be responsible." Dad looks up from his plate, confused. "I've been managing everything on my own for almost a year now," I continue, keeping my tone light. "Rent, bills, groceries, car repairs, all of it. It's been challenging, but I'm really proud of how far I've come." The silence is instant and complete. Mom's fork hovers in midair. Dad's face goes through several expressions: confusion, disbelief, something that might be grudging respect. Claire grins, clearly enjoying this. "Wait," Mom finally says. "You've been paying for everything. By yourself." "Every single thing," I confirm, meeting her eyes. Their expressions are priceless. Absolutely priceless. The conversation shifts after that. Dad sets down his fork, leaning forward with sudden interest. "How exactly have you been managing all this?" I take a sip of water, choosing my words carefully. "I've been freelancing. Content writing, graphic design, some social media management. I've built up a decent client base." "Freelancing," Mom echoes like it's a foreign concept. "But that's not stable. You need a real job with benefits and—" "I make about $4,000 a month," I interrupt gently. "And I just signed a long-term contract that'll add another $3,000. The number hangs in the air. Dad's eyes widen slightly. $4,000. Plus the contract work, I nod. "So yeah, it's been stable enough." Then I drop the next piece. "I've also started investing. Small amounts, but I figured it was smart to think about the future." Dad actually leans back in his chair, processing. "Investing," he repeats quietly, almost to himself. "We never thought." Mom trails off, unable to finish. Claire kicks me under the table, her grin enormous. This is the moment I've been building toward. The moment they realize I'm not who they thought I was. The following Sunday, they invite their friend Mr. Patterson over for lunch. He's known our family for years, watched me grow up. While we're eating, he turns to me. "Your parents tell me you've been doing quite well for yourself lately." I glance at Mom and Dad, who suddenly look very interested in their sandwiches. "Just working hard and staying focused," I say modestly. Mr. Patterson nods approvingly. "That's wonderful. So many young people rely entirely on their parents these days. It's refreshing to see someone your age being truly independent." Mom's cheeks flush pink. Dad clears his throat awkwardly. They can't deflect or downplay it now. Not with a witness reinforcing what they've been denying. The rest of lunch is quiet, punctuated by small talk that feels strained. I catch Mom watching me several times, her expression unreadable. When Mr. Patterson leaves, she corners me in the kitchen. "You could have mentioned your success before now," she says, her voice tight. "You mentioned it to everyone else, apparently." "You never asked," I reply simply. The truth in those words makes her flinch. Claire, my younger sister, shows up at my apartment unannounced on a Wednesday evening. She's holding Chinese takeout and wearing a curious expression. "Okay, spill," she demands, setting the food on my counter. "How long have you been secretly rich?" I laugh, unpacking the containers. "I'm not rich, Claire. I'm just stable." "Stable?" she repeats incredulously. "You're making more than Dad right now, probably. And none of us knew." I hand her a plate, my smile fading slightly. I wasn't keeping it secret to be mean. I just wanted to prove I could do it. Without their help. Without anyone doubting me. Claire's expression softens. "They really thought you were struggling, didn't they?" "They were sure of it," I confirm. We eat in comfortable silence for a moment before Claire speaks again. "You know they're freaking out, right? Mom called me yesterday asking if I knew anything about your financial situation. She used air quotes and everything. I can't help but smile. Good. Maybe they'll finally see me differently. The questions intensify after that. Dad calls on a Thursday morning. His voice overly casual. So, this freelancing thing. How'd you even get started? I'm grocery shopping, phone wedged between my shoulder and ear. Online platforms, networking, building a portfolio. It took time. And you never thought to mention it. There's hurt in his voice now, mixed with confusion. I pause in the cereal aisle, closing my eyes briefly. Dad, every time I tried to talk about handling my own finances, you shut me down. You told me I wasn't ready. So I stopped talking and started doing. He's quiet for a long moment. We were trying to protect you. I know, I say softly. But I needed you to trust me instead. We end the call shortly after, both of us emotional in ways we don't know how to express. Mom texts later that evening. Can we talk soon? Really talk. I stare at the message for several minutes before replying. Sure. Whenever you're ready. The real conversation happens on a Saturday. I drive to their house, my stomach tight with nerves. They're both sitting in the living room when I arrive, looking like they've been waiting. We've been thinking, Mom starts carefully. And we realize we may have underestimated you. Dad nods, his jaw tight. We kept trying to help, but maybe what we were really doing was doubting you. I sit across from them, my hands clasped in my lap. I needed you to believe in me, I say quietly. Not manage me. Not save me. Just believe that I could figure it out. We did believe. Mom begins, but I shake my head. You believed I'd fail. You were waiting for me to come back asking for money, asking for help. You never actually thought I'd make it work. The words hang heavy. Dad's face crumbles slightly, and I realize he knows I'm right. We're sorry, he says finally, and his voice cracks. We should have trusted you more. Mom reaches for my hand, her eyes wet. You did it all on your own. You really did. For the first time in months, I feel the tension between us start to ease. But I'm not done yet. A few days later, I mention the project I've been working on, a freelance campaign for a major retail brand. It's probably the biggest thing I've landed so far, I say over the phone to Mom. They're paying me $12,000 for the full project. I hear her sharp intake of breath. $12,000. For one project. It's 3 months of work, I explain. But yeah, it's a big deal. I'm really excited about it. There's a pause, then Mom's voice comes back, quieter. We really had no idea what you were capable of. Those words settle in my chest, warm and validating. I tried to tell you, I say gently. I tried to show you. But you weren't looking. We're looking now, she promises. And for the first time I believe her. When we hang up, I sit in my quiet apartment, staring at the contract on my laptop screen. I did this, all of this, without them, despite them. And now, finally, they're starting to see it. The real turning point comes in October. There's an old family debt, something Dad borrowed from his brother years ago and has been slowly paying back. It's been a source of stress for them, a topic that comes up at every holiday gathering. Uncle Richard never lets them forget it. One evening I log into my banking app and initiate the transfer. The full remaining balance. $3,200. I don't tell them in advance. I just do it. Uncle Richard calls Dad the next morning. I hear about it when Dad phones me, his voice shaking. Did you? Lena, did you pay off the loan? Yeah, I say simply, stirring my coffee. It was stressing you out and I had the money. For a moment there's just breathing on the other end. Then, you shouldn't have done that. That wasn't your responsibility. I wanted to, I reply firmly. You're my parents. You've done a lot for me over the years. This was something I could do for you. The silence stretches. Thank you, he finally whispers. I don't know what to say. You don't have to say anything, I tell him. 2 weeks later, I invite them over for dinner. This time it's intentional, a showcase of sorts. I cook a full meal from scratch. Roasted chicken, garlic potatoes, grilled vegetables, homemade bread. I set the table with flowers and wine glasses. When they arrive, Mom's eyes go wide. You did all this? Every bit, I confirm, pulling out chairs for them. Throughout dinner, they keep exchanging glances. Dad comments on the food, the apartment, the way I've decorated. You've really built a life here, he says, and there's wonder in his voice. Mom reaches across the table, squeezing my hand. We're proud of you. I know we haven't said that enough, but we are. I feel tears prick my eyes. Thank you. After dinner, we sit on my small balcony, sipping wine and watching the city lights. For the first time in years, there's no tension, no doubt, no judgment, just three people finally seeing each other clearly. We should have trusted you from the start, Dad admits quietly. You've exceeded every expectation we ever had. And most of the ones we didn't know to have. The shift becomes permanent after that. Mom stops offering money with that worried, pitying look. Dad stops making jokes about me needing help. When Claire mentions thinking about moving out, they encourage her and suggest she talk to me about budgeting tips. Your sister really knows what she's doing, Dad tells her at Sunday dinner. I catch his eye across the table, and he gives me a small, proud nod. Mom starts asking my advice about investments and savings. You clearly understand this better than we gave you credit for, she admits one afternoon over coffee. The apologies are subtle, woven into everyday conversations rather than grand gestures. But they're there, consistent and genuine. They see me now, not as the child who needs saving, but as the adult who saved herself. And more importantly, they respect what I've built. The respect I always wanted but never demanded. The respect I earned by simply refusing to fail. Months pass. It's a quiet Saturday afternoon when Mom calls, asking if we can meet for lunch. Just the two of us. We meet at a small cafe downtown, settling into a corner booth. She orders tea, fidgeting with a cup before finally meeting my eyes. I need to say something, and I need you to really hear it, she begins, her voice serious. We were wrong. Your father and I, we spent years assuming you couldn't handle life on your own. We projected our own fears onto you, and that wasn't fair. A nod waiting. We thought we were being protective, she continues, but we were actually being controlling. We didn't trust you to figure things out, to struggle and grow. We wanted to shield you from failure so badly that we never gave you the chance to succeed. Her eyes well up. But you did it anyway. You proved us wrong in the best possible way. I reach across the table, taking her hand. I just needed you to believe in me. We do now, she whispers. We really do. It's been nearly 2 years since that first dinner, the one where Dad asked how I was paying rent. I'm sitting in my apartment now, laptop open, reviewing the latest project proposal from a company that wants to hire me full-time. The salary offer is impressive. More than I ever imagined making at 25. My savings account has grown from a few $100s to nearly $20,000. My retirement fund is steadily building. I have health insurance, a reliable car, and an apartment that actually feels like home. The phone rings. It's Dad. Hey kiddo. Just calling to see how you're doing. I'm good, I say, smiling at the casual warmth in his voice. Really good. We know you are, he replies. We're really proud. I hope you know that. I do now, I tell him honestly. After we hang up, I look around my space, at the life I built with my own hands, my own mind, my own determination. They still ask sometimes, curious about how I did it. And I tell them pieces, stories, little revelations. But I don't tell them everything. Some victories are meant to be savored quietly, kept close to your heart. Sometimes proving yourself isn't about confrontation or grand speeches. It's about living your success so completely, so undeniably, that it speaks for itself. And when the people who doubted you finally see what you've built, that quiet triumph is sweeter than any words could ever be.